Hello, Dom.
Hi, Si.
Thanks for taking the time to be my first ever guest on Recruitment Ops. I did it again.
It's an honour. It's an honour to be the first one up.
For those who are just listening and not watching, we are in a very hot room.
It's insanely hot. It's insanely hot. But everywhere that was cool, it was too loud. So.
Yeah. So those watching might see us get a bit more shinier as we go on. But let's kick things off. I'll hand over to you, Dom, for an intro to your organisation and you.
Yeah. So I'm the head of ops here at RBW Consulting. We are, what are we now, around about the mid-20s in terms of headcount. We've followed the classic model that everyone else has done over the last few years of grow, got up to sort of 70-ish. And then we've whittled ourselves back down, unfortunately. But I think we're at a nice, sweet size at the moment. Come on to that, I'm sure, and some other bits in the future. But we're pure life science focused. So we only deal with roles within the life sciences space, predominantly through Europe and the US. Got bases, couple of offices here in the UK and a couple over in the States as well. So yeah, managing things globally. What else do you need to know about us? That's pretty much RBW in a nutshell, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, nice. And we're in rainy Crawley.
We are, yeah.
But is there a reason for it being headquartered down this way?
I suppose connections to the founders. I guess they're sort of from around here. Started up in a back bedroom in one of their houses, so it didn't really ever move very far.
Yeah.
So we're in Crawley, and then we sort of had a satellite spin up in Brighton, just to widen our ability to recruit, and then so that all started in 2007. Company was established, and we started our US operation in 2017, just out of Boston, and then that's grown to a West Coast presence as well now. So yeah, that's all gone pretty well.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about your role then and your journey, because it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's sort of conventional and unconventional at the same time, I suppose. So I joined RBW as a consultant with about 12 months, 18 months recruitment experience before that. Prior to joining here, I'd sort of done weirdly a really junior ops type role for someone I played rugby with, who was starting a recruitment company. I had no idea what recruitment was. I had 1 year between university and going off to law school to become a lawyer in the city. And he said, you'd be quite good at recruitment, and I need someone to do some contracts, and you quite like tech, so you can do my IT for me. Yeah. I was like, okay, what is recruitment? He went, don't worry about that, you'll learn that as you go. So I did that for a year before going off to do my law conversion, did my LPC, ran headlong into the credit crunch, wasn't getting a training contract anytime soon, decided to put my dreams of being a hotshot city lawyer on the back burner while that all calmed down. And went, what kind of recruitment? There's always recruitment to fall back into, if in doubt, recruitment.
Yeah.
So ended up coming back into recruitment, long-winded route to RBW over a sort of 6 to 9 month period of trying a few things and not enjoying it. So started here in March of 2010, as I say, as a lowly consultant, worked my way up, team leader, launched new verticals and tried new things here. And after about 10 years, had reached a point where got a little bit burnt out. I suppose it's fair to say.
Yeah. How old were you when you
let's do the
got
maths.
to that?
How old was I in 2019? Let's do the maths. 35?
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you did 25 to 35. You were on the tools, working your way out the ladder.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say. And we were at a point of RBW was at the point of sort of wanting to grow that rung further. We were still found a run. They wanted to, or needed to, more than anything else, have more time to do more business leader things rather than work on the business, not in the business, I think is the buzzword. Yeah. So they were looking for someone to take on the ops side of the business. I wouldn't say I was the obvious choice because they made me work hard for it through a couple of rounds of quite intense interviews. But yeah, ended up taking this role, or a version of this role, in the summer of 2019. Yeah. So the astute will notice that 6 months later, the world changed.
The world changed.
Phenomenally.
Yeah, it's interesting when I've said this before, and sometimes I've got to watch when I say it because I say it in front of people and they can get offended. But I think the best ops people in recruitment are folks that have been in recruitment first or been really close to supporting front office stuff to move into it?
I think there's definitely something in that. Yeah. I think that a common thread through everything that I do with ops is grounded in that. Well, I've been there, and recruitment's changed a lot, and I sometimes can sound a little bit like the old recruiter going, well, in my day, I'm conscious of that, but the fundamentals of how to recruit haven't changed. Yeah. And so having an understanding of what the job actually entails and knowing where there were gaps when I was doing it and some of the things that we can now bring into play as ops people, I would have absolutely killed for. It can only help.
Would you say you were always operationally minded or tech savvy throughout that tenure, or was that something that came with age? Is it something that you pick up as you mature?
I've always been a geek.
Yeah.
I've never been a salesperson, he says, as someone who's recruited for 10 years. But when you sort of classify yourself and put yourself in a box, I'm a nerdy geek that likes computers, likes tech, very organised and ordered, and likes systems and processes and all of that. I built my own things as a recruiter for my individual desk, like commission calculators and fancy spreadsheets that did X, Y, and Z and all of that kind of stuff. So it was kind of a natural extension, I suppose, to just do that across the business.
Yeah, nice. Did it make a difference landing into that role, having had the experience that you had on the floor?
I think definitely, and doing it in a company I'd been in for so long as well.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't a lot about the organisation that I didn't know from the ground up. So instead of arriving in a new ops role and going, right, I've got to spend 6 months understanding the business and kicking the tyres and finding out what bits are loose and all of those cliches.
Yeah.
I kind of knew them because there have been things that have been annoying me for the decade that I've been doing the job. But like, why do we do it this way? And now finally I can change that process or organise a new system to take that bit of pain away, whatever it might be.
And looking back on it, when you did the transition from on the floor to ops, because quite often there's that stigma of ops v sales, and anyone who listens to the jingle for this show will hear me taking the mick out of that. But any tips or tricks to people that might be transitioning?
I think that there wasn't, I suppose truthfully, that probably wasn't too much of a problem because I'd been working alongside all the people that there could have been the friction with.
Yeah.
I think now though, obviously, recruitment, you have headcount turnover. It's a very different sea of employees to those that we had, or largely a different group to those we had back in 2019. But I think by this stage, I'm then sort of fairly well embedded, and there's a degree of people will come in and be told this guy knows what he's doing, like trust him. So fortunately, I think I've by and large avoided that friction.
Yeah.
Lucky, I know plenty of people that haven't, and like you say, it can be tricky.
Yeah.
But there's still issues though. Like there's still moments where you do have to kind of, metaphorically speaking, raise your voice to make the point.
Yeah.
I think sometimes sales can get a bit carried away in the here and now, and those blinkers can come on. And I view a big part of my role as being let's get everyone just step back, breathe. Let's make a decision that's going to make sense for the future, not the here and now.
Yeah, and we know each other from the RecTech event circuit. That's how we actually know each other. And one thing, whenever we have a conversation about where things are going, what's happening, we always talk about future, what you're trying, what you're playing around with. And I know you personally enjoy playing around with the tech stuff, hence the nerdy geek description, which is also in your LinkedIn headline.
I think it is,
I picked that up, or data geek, one of the two. You've done several projects in your time as an ops person here at RBW, not one but two large CRM moves, brand refresh, B Corp certification, amongst other things. I'd love to go through some of these and talk about your lessons learned and what you could say to a slightly younger self in hindsight.
Yeah, probably don't do 2 database migrations in 6 years. That's probably the first thing. I will caveat that though, the first move wasn't my decision. The business had made the decision to move CRM before I got this role. So I'm not that mental.
Let's start there, because that sounded like it was around a time of wholesale change for the business.
Yeah, it was. The plan at that point was the classic recruitment growth model. We were going to be headcount growth, expanding new offices. We needed a system, therefore, that was flexible and allowed for that, basically something cloud-based, because our original database was very much an on-prem, sat on a powerful server sitting in a cupboard in our old office in Crawley. And correctly, I think the decision had been made that we needed to move to something cloud-based. We're heading off to Bullhorn. First I knew about it was probably May of that year, when we were going live in the September, and I didn't even have this job until the July.
Right.
So I was kind of project managing a CRM whilst being a team leader with a 20 grand target above my head.
Yeah, nice.
Trying to deliver our first cloud-based database. That was fun, and learnt a lot. Like, it didn't go particularly well. It wasn't a disaster. We were okay, but a lot came out of that as to how to do things better next time. And yeah, there is now a next time. We actually go live next week on a new database, which we've had a year, that we've been in the migration process for a year. It basically implementing everything that I learned from the kind of half migration I did before to this. So
a year. Some people are going to be listening to this or watching this and going, a year you've taken
that's
to
insane.
That. Yeah.
Like, that's a very cautious, determined to get things right, but also an appreciation of what a mess some of our data was in. So instead of going, right, you can do a database migration in 3 months if you really want.
Yeah.
You can do it in 6 months. We decided, let's be pragmatic. Let's get. So we sort of staged it out, really. We made the commitment to change. We signed with a new vendor, and spent probably 6 months. The first 6 months was almost exclusively around data tidy up. It was that sort of kick and deadline, I guess, that went, no, everyone's made noises over the last 2 years, probably since the AI boom, of got to get your data in order. You've got to have good data integrity underneath it all to make it all work. But, yeah, what's the impetus to actually follow through with that?
Yeah.
Change database.
Yeah.
Just tell yourself you're going somewhere new.
Yeah. And we don't want to take crap with us.
And we don't want to take crap with us. Yeah, the analogy I was throwing around, probably ad nauseam, was we're moving house. We've got two choices. We can either package everything nicely, label all of our boxes, have them all nicely gaffer taped up, and the removal men can come in and put them all in their lorry and know exactly where they're putting things in the other end, or we can just leave it and say, have at it, boys, and just hope for the best at the other end.
At the other end, yeah.
And fortunately, we decided we'd employ decent removal men.
Yeah,
so
nice. Yeah, I rate it. I think sometimes people rush it because of contract necessitation, or they're getting pressured because they want to stop paying there and start paying here, and commercially they can't get it to align. Or you've got a overzealous leadership that like get it on.
Yeah.
But it's good that your voice is listened to, which is good. How did you find having that conversation around it? Because I think we can say who you're moving to.
Yeah, of course.
This is going to come out in February anyway, so it'll be live. So Mercury is who you've gone for. Can we talk a little bit about your decision on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I decided I wanted Mercury more or less from as soon as I discovered it existed, which was what, 2022? Purely because it's on Dynamics.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, the rest of the business runs on Microsoft one way or another. Somewhere it's somewhere in the Azure cloud. So it would make sense to have our CRM native to that. I was doing the internal sales role for a good 2 years before we sort of finally actually went, okay, let's do this. Make it, and that was even before all the AI stuff that's come out. It was purely let's get onto an extensible platform rather than a proprietary cloud. I got nothing really bad to say about Bullhorn where we were before. No. They're really good guys. It's a really good product. Just wasn't the product for us moving forward to be able to do some of the things that we know or I know is possible.
When you say proprietary cloud, just for those that might not
so
understand.
Bullhorn's great if you want to use products that work with Bullhorn, I guess, is the best way to sum it up. And that doesn't have to be marketplace stuff. There's non-marketplace non-marketplace products that will tie in nicely as well. And they're all, by and large, very good products, a lot of them. But to be able to build and develop yourself, so that whole build versus buy conversation is much more challenging when you're having to just interface with the Bullhorn API, instead of being able to just pick up Power Platform stuff and throw a quick Power App together, throw an automation together that will automate everything and anything. Bullhorn automation is good, but can only automate within CRM, really. You can do some clever stuff with some webhooks and bits, but get onto Power Automate and I can have the database affect things in QuickBooks like that. It just is more powerful.
And I know you have a really good relationship with Bullhorn, and your account manager there's a top bloke and all that sort of stuff. Like, if you ever meet Dom, ask him the story about how they handle.
No, don't.
Ask him the story about that.
Most awkward moment of my life.
That's a good story over a beer, but we won't cover it on today's chat. So I guess thinking about that proprietary cloud piece and an extensible platform like Microsoft or Dynamics, what about those that say Salesforce to that? Did you do any research into that kind of?
Not a great deal. I know it works. I know that there's flexibility. Truth be told, it's not my area of expertise. So maximise what you've got. And I know Microsoft was sort of where it all came from. Yeah,
because you were I can't remember where we were. We were at the Camino Partners CRO.
Yeah.
And we were talking about you've got Copilot doing some stuff, but you were also shouting at Copilot at the time because it just wouldn't get certain things right.
Yeah.
How is your relationship with Copilot at the moment?
We're good actually. We're good. Yeah. I've sort of started cheating on it a little bit with Gemini on the side.
Okay.
Not for work. I don't put work stuff through Gemini, but for my personal AI assistant, I'm two-timing a little bit. But within work, for me, the true power of a proper AI gets unleashed when it's pervasive through everything. Like, you can have all these individual AI-infused products, and the AI is baked into it, and it's great, but it can't talk to the. So we've just brought Zoom Info in, for example, and that, annoyingly, they've also called theirs Copilot just to confuse everybody.
Everyone has,
everyone's called every AI assistant Copilot, which doesn't help. But their AI Copilot is great. It can do an awful lot, but it will do it in the Zoom Info world. It's back to that proprietary cloud. And Microsoft Copilot, however, has access to everything within and without the RBW wall. So it's got the full web at its disposal, but it's also got everything that the user using Copilot has access to within SharePoint. So their personal OneDrive, every SharePoint site they've got access to, all of their emails, all the meeting notes and minutes that come out from Teams meetings that are recorded, everything. So when you ask Copilot a question, it's calling on all of that.
Yeah.
So while Copilot isn't necessarily the best AI out there, which is odd given it's leveraging OpenAI itself, but it's not quite a true version. The shortfalls of it as an AI assistant, I feel, are more than made up for by being that kind of one thing that wraps around everything within the RBW business.
Yeah.
And that will only strengthen the more data we start putting into Dynamics.
Yeah.
And it will be able to start referencing things within the database as well when making those decisions for us.
And you mentioned to me before we started recording that there was a big SharePoint move that you had to do previously. So actually, it's almost as if you had this foresight about the fact that you're going to have everything sitting in one place. Was the SharePoint rollout or migration to everything on SharePoint driven by anything in particular?
Yeah, so during my interview process for the internal interviews I had for this, I was looking at, how can I sound impressive? How can I sound like I've actually got something to offer rather than just like, give us that job?
Yeah.
So I sort of took a step back and looked at it, and it's obvious to say now, but at the time, genuinely didn't seem a problem until I started drilling into it. We were running everything, including our Boston office, our remote office in Brighton. No one had laptops, they were just desktops, and they were remote desktoping into a server in Crawley. That server had all of the company files on it, finance, HR, all the sales documents, everything lived on that server in Crawley, which is fine, all the while Crawley's online and connected to the internet.
Yeah.
But if the Crawley internet connection goes down, the whole, not just what was it at the time, 20, 30 people in the Crawley office couldn't work, the entire company couldn't work because it's just cut off from the world. So that was my thing, was we've got to get things into the cloud so that we remove the single point of failure problem.
Yeah.
I'd love to say it's because I saw the pandemic coming, but not true. That was just, I was about to say fortunate timing.
Happy coincidence?
Again, the word happy. I don't know. It was a complete fluke, but one that came off well, because it just meant we could effectively click our fingers and go remote almost straight away without skipping a beat, because we'd been on SharePoint, we had Bullhorn at that point, we'd moved the phone system to a VoIP thing away from the Avaya desk-based old school thing we had. And we finished all of that in the December of 2019, and by middle of February, we're all at home.
All at home. So you did 10 years on the tools with RBW, moved into an ops role, essentially ran a digital transformation, because I think back then that's what it was called, right?
Probably,
the move to the cloud, everyone was calling that digital transformation back then. I was recruiting back then, and that's what we were calling it, moving on-prem ERP solutions to SaaS-based solutions. Talk to me a little bit about that brand refresh and the B Corps stuff, because those are the sort of opsy projects that, I don't know, they're just not as sexy as tech, in my opinion. What was that like?
They definitely are on the sexy side, they're just not on the nerdy side.
Okay.
There we go. That's what I'll say. So in addition to being a nerd, I'm quite weird in that I like things to look good as well.
Yeah.
Often nerds are just like, well, it works.
Technically
it's fine. Move on, next
2
thing.
2 + 2 is 4.
Whereas I really enjoy the marketing side of my role. So just to go back a few steps to give the context, maybe would make sense. My role was not my ops role, because it means different things in different places, was basically everything that wasn't finance, HR, or sales, effectively. So I covered marketing from day one, facilities, IT, legal and contracts, compliance, all of that just was me from day one. So when the decision was made that we needed to freshen things up, we'd had the existing brand for, 10 years, I suppose, by that point. It just naturally was part of what I was involved in doing. But when you start thinking, brand refresh, that's quite fun, that's arty and creative, there's a lot of that. A lot of time spent with various different agencies being creative is probably the best way to sum it. And I love it, don't get me wrong, but knowing the audience that are going to be watching this, the thought of maybe being creative is not necessarily many ops people's bag. I love it. But what then actually kind of came out the other end is all of a sudden you're like, hang on a minute, that everything has to change. You've changed. It wasn't subtle. We had a whole new logo. We went from being quite a corporate, royal, dark blue sort of colour to the pink and yellow and orange gradient that we've got now. I actually joked at the beginning when people were saying to me that we hadn't made the decision at all. Everyone was going, what's the new logo going to look like? I went, it's hot pink. Like, it was a throwaway flippant comment, and we've actually ended up with hot pink. So you suddenly start realising that, like, everything, even down to your settings in the back end of your M365 tenant, the brand goes everywhere.
I was literally just about to say, I've just had to update a logo for Rec Experts, right? And I'd forgotten how many places that you have to update it to. There's so many channels. Cozy, the Cozy logo is changing. It's going to have mine and Kate's face on it. And I had to go into YouTube. I had to go into Instagram. I had to go it's signatures everywhere. Every Canva template had to be updated. You just forget every signature.
So it kind of stops being that fun creative thing then and just becomes a checklist of where have we got brand material that needs changing, and like terms of business, headers, footers, like everything.
Job boards. If you publish the job boards, they've got your logo somewhere sitting inside CV library.
The whole lot. It's it very quickly moves away from being a fun, in inverted commas, creative exercise, and like how can we sell ourselves, like, in all the elevator pitch, all of that good stuff, to then it's just a checkbox exercise and making sure we haven't missed anything. Yeah,
which is just diligence in your work around any project, right? Like, just to make sure. But you need to know where they are, right? And then because invariably something crops up 6 months down the line where something's gone out with an old logo.
You have to know everything everywhere. DocuSign. We'd forgotten DocuSign on go live day, as it were. And I suddenly went, I haven't updated the DocuSign. So any DocuSigns going out, we're still going out with the old logo. It's just mad.
Well, who was leading that? Where was the senior endorsement for that?
That was the owners. They were still. We were still owner run at that point in time, and it was very much being driven by one of them.
Nice.
Who sort of had a hand on the tiller on that. But it was another example. I've got a bit of a reputation internally now of I either end up in hospital or on holiday the week before anything significant.
Where are you going this weekend then?
So no, this is fine. Actually, I am going to Boston this weekend, but that's deliberate because I'm doing the go live training in our Boston office.
Got you, yeah.
So that is planned. But before the rebrand, I was in Rhodes for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We changed phone system to 8x8, and I was on holiday for October half term on the go live. We moved the Brighton office, and I'd had surgery the week before. Like it's all
so selfish.
I time things really, really well. Yeah.
That's so funny. Do you know what? It's interesting about those. Ops covers so much stuff, and I'm glad you cleared up all the bits that you actually cover. I'm going to clip that for the intro. But the B Corps one's a really interesting one because a lot of people don't actually understand what B Corps is, like what the requirements are for keeping up the certification and your requirements or your responsibilities to it.
Yep.
There's a load of firms out there saying, hey, we'll get you certified and off you pop kind of thing. But can we talk about that a little bit? Because that is a really unique...
It was sort of part of our rebrand, to be honest. Yeah. So our brand positioning as part of the rebrand was all about making us people-centric. And that's both in the work we do. We recruit within life science. The people we recruit, we do. Sounds like we get a bit ahead of ourselves and a bit grandiose, but we do play a very, very small part in bringing life-changing drugs to market.
Yeah,
we place the wrong person in a role, and that has the potential to derail.
Yeah,
a really important thing coming to market for many, many, many people. So we sort of took that layer of responsibility, I guess, and wanted a way of really demonstrating that we're a good company full of good people doing good things. Mm-hmm. And we looked at a couple of options, settled on B Corp as being the one that we sort of felt best represented what we were about and how we could use that label to just kind of put a rubber stamp basically on, this is what we do. So a lot of people think B Corp is all about your green eco credentials.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
but it's actually when you come to doing it, you'll find more. It's probably more about how you treat your own staff, to be honest. So it's all things around like pay scale disparity. So it's one of those things that moves from being this would be a nice thing to do to just a series of huge
just every ops
checklists.
Project. Yeah,
and so you're having to submit data on who your highest paid person is versus lowest. The percentile differences between that, people that got bonuses versus didn't, and how many people took charity days off during the preceding 12 months, and just data on everything. So if you love data, and your company's got good records, you're having a field day.
Yeah.
If you don't have good records, you're working really, really hard to dig stuff up and make it make sense.
Yeah.
It's basically a huge compliance exercise.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, now that you've mentioned the level of data that you have to go into and details you have to provide, because my first go-to head thing is you give a bit of money to charity, and it's the sustainability piece around being eco-friendly and your carbon footprint. That's where my brain goes to straight away. There'll be obviously people listening to this who think that a brand refresh is a good idea, and B Corp would be something very interesting for their business as a proposition. Can I ask you two questions on that, which is, one, have those two projects and their outcomes help the business, and in what way? And then B, if someone is going out to market to try and convince their founders or their owners to explore this, would you recommend positioning it in any certain way? The answer might be the same for both in reality.
Yeah, I think it definitely has been good, but not necessarily in a financial way. I think when you're doing, so our brand refresh, as I say, was all about being about the person, and B Corp tied in with that. That's got to be genuine. Mm-hmm. If you are a company that is just money, 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 you could maybe make it fit. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong in doing that. Like, if you want to be a firm all about money, be a firm all about money. That's your choice. We never were, and decided we wanted to make it apparent that that's not what we're about. So what we found with so in terms of did the brand refresh work? Yes, because it made it easier for our consultants on the phone when you're being asked to differentiate yourself from the 15 other agencies that have called during the week.
Yeah.
They've got real meat to talk about. Now, we always had it, and I'm sure lots of other companies have always had this, like, we are different, but how do we not fall into the recruitment cliches of saying we're vertical specialists or we're this, that, and the other?
200,000 people on our database.
Yeah, exactly. And move away from these database size comparisons, to actually give them, as part of marketing, something they can take to market and sell that is different, and that is unique to us. Not necessarily unique to us. We're not the only company that thinks and wants to be the type of company that we are, but written for us, by us, about us, to really kind of explain who we are. So from that perspective, it's been successful. Whether that's won us any more business, I don't know. Well, but it's made people's jobs easier, I like to think, to a degree.
It's got to make it easier. It's got to make it easier, and also it's just something to be proud of.
Exactly.
Like I think especially the generation of recruiters that are coming through just in society, and we're much more conscious about what we do, like our carbon footprints and what we do for the less fortunate in the world, and having equitable workforces, etc. So I just feel like that is the step forward to take. I've worked with a couple of companies that are B Corp, and I've got to say, some of them aren't all about the money, but it's secondary to their people. Like, they are so focused on revenue, and they're secondary to people. So that's
one of the things that came out we'd always had like unofficial mottos through the company, from when we were 10 people in a tiny room, not much bigger than this, to be honest, when I first joined, to when we got up to sort of 70 plus people. Throw away things like the "don't be a dick." That was if you asked us what our value statement was at any point in time before we actually got one, was, well, just don't be a dick. Or things like do the right thing, not the money thing. Fine, we're not going to argue over that rebate, because we know what it goes around comes around. So be nice, be kind, and you'll come out on top in the end.
Do the right thing was always one that I grew up in a spit and sawdust agency when I started, and they were like sharp as a tack. Every single person didn't miss a trick, didn't leave nothing on the table. We were just like leads, names. We pulled those all day long. Every phone call, there was something valuable out of it. But when we got to situations where you had to make a decision on which way to go, left or right, the resounding feel across the whole floor was always do the right thing, because long term, that's the game.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Okay, super interesting. So let's. We won't go into the Mercury project in any more detail. I think you've given us some really good insights into your projects. Can we talk a little bit about the Anton deck of Crawley? Is how I'm going to describe.
Okay.
Yeah. No, honestly, for those listening and watching, there is a lovely L&D person that works here called Michelle, and more often than not, when I'm going to the events, if I see Dom, Michelle is usually a few meters behind, or one or the other. So, but that for me, I think it's unique how you work together. Maybe not unique in terms of your roles and how that fits, but it'd be really useful to talk about how that relationship and how you work together in those roles, I guess, helps with all of these successful projects that you've seen.
Yeah, I think the sort of common thread there, I guess, is always keeping the end user at front of mind. Now that 9 times out of 10 in recruitment is going to be sales, but it might be finance, it might be HR, might be whoever. Who's going to be using the process, the system, the tool, the tech, the whatever you're bringing in? That's sort of where it starts. And from a long time before I had this role, Michelle's been here. She'll shoot me for not knowing this. Something like 13 years, maybe 12, 13 years, something like that.
Consultant as well?
No, so she joined as pure L&D, originally to sort of run our academies, bringing in complete newbies and get them up to speed. And certainly over the last 3-4 years, I guess, she and I have worked really closely together, because our skill sets sort of complement each other. So we're very tech driven here. We're very forward looking. We're really always trying to push the boundaries, do new things, instill best practice in people. So L&D is really key to that. Michelle's very good with people, with getting them to understand stuff. I'm not. I'm very, how did you not understand that, you idiot? Why doesn't that make sense? Come on, it's straightforward.
Do you know why I find that so funny? It's because I get along with you like a house on fire. So I find that I can picture it, speaking to a new rookie.
I just so I need Michelle to deliver what I need delivering. And Michelle needs me to sort of keep the structure and so the best way to explain it, maybe, we're very big into, so we do a thing here called insights discovery.
Okay.
So it's colour profiling.
Yeah.
And everyone does it within their first couple of weeks of joining. Everyone gets their profile, and so everyone, and it's sort of coming back to it was part of the brand refresh push, I suppose. We've really made it a thing, making it all about individuals. It's not a weird thing here for me to say to I'm blue, and people will know what that means internally.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very purple, so that's a mixture of blue and red. So blue, for those that don't know about Discovery Insights, blue is all about planning and structure and objectivity and being boring, basically.
Okay.
Yellow is all like happy, fun, let's go, let's pump the place full of energy. Red is I just need to get it done. I just get out of my way. I've got to get this finished.
Yeah.
Most salespeople tend to be somewhere on the red, yellow, because that's what makes them good.
Extroverted.
And then you've got green, that's all kind of family relationships, the sort of people that help everybody else and mop up behind them. Probably got some of those really wrong, but that's the rough gist. So I'm purple, so I'm a mixture of get it done and plan it properly before you jump in. Michelle is very yellow, so she's full of all the energy, the excitement, and the helps things stick, and I'll make sure it's all neat and tidy.
Yeah, because she is a bag of energy. She's always so effusive. And we've been at events before, some of the Mercury breakfast things that we've been at. We've talked about rolling out change and how to roll out change. And I always find it interesting the pair of you and how that would work. Because would you say that every purple person needs a yellow person to roll out change, or does it just help?
Probably the latter.
Yeah.
I think you can do it without, but God, it helps.
Yeah.
I could be like, I don't know how to deliver this.
Yeah.
And it's when you get to the stage when you've worked so closely with someone for so long that I can just be very blue and be like, I'm just going to tell you how I need it told, Michelle, and then you can
work it out.
You message that for me.
Yeah, nice.
If I deliver this, no one's going to listen to me.
The insights thing is really super interesting. One of my clients who I spend most of my time with, to be fair, the founder, I can't remember what color it was now, but anyway, he likes detail. He just likes detail in everything. And so I do project updates to him, and I never go in without being prepped. Like, I make sure I know exactly what's happening with everything, because I know he'll ask another question, and he probes. Him and one of the other MDs they're like such recruiters. Like, and why is that? And why is that? They are just classic recruiters. And they're going to ask that second question, and the why and the how and the what we're doing about it, did we know? And so I always go into it quite prepped. But, there's been times when they've had updates which don't give enough information, and it just sends that relationship a little bit like wonky. So I think it's important to be aware of those things. And actually, if you have a culture of having a bit of a color identity so that people understand how you like to work and operate, that's great. I think that's I don't know why
it's
more
on
organizations
all of our Office 365 profile pictures. There's a coloured ring around the outside.
Yeah.
So that if you get an email or a Teams call or a Teams message or whatever from someone, you know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So I kind of get away with being quite blunt to people internally, because it's moved beyond that's just Dom to that's just how a blue is. People know, don't ask him how his weekend was. Don't just ask him what you want. No preamble.
I mean, that's so good though, isn't it? How that is so genius. Like, how are more people not doing that? That's the first I've heard of people doing it like that. That sounds wicked.
We've been doing that since
the refresh.
No, since before then actually.
Oh, really?
But we've really driven it to the fore, I guess,
Yeah.
since the refresh. We started the Insights thing back in 2019.
Yeah.
And we've kept it going, that's 7 years now.
Yeah.
And it's no less powerful now than it was then.
No, I think it's actually even more important now because of how disconnected we are and how little time we spend in human contact with one another to learn. Like, sometimes you spend half an hour in a room with someone, you know if they're a yellow and you know if they're a red or a blue. You can learn those things quite quickly. And I think if we are going to continue being remote, because I think you said here you've got a couple of days that you're in the office, but most people are remote.
Most people are remote.
Yeah.
80% of the time. We have 2 office days a week, but even then, today's a Tuesday, and there's only 4 people in here.
Yeah.
So it's not without its challenges. I mean, that's probably another whole podcast. Let's not get into that rabbit warren. But if you doing things like Insights does genuinely kind of make that thing a little bit easier.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I'd love to go into clients because I get added into their teams with my email address rather than having to get, because I'd have 20 email addresses otherwise. I'd love to be able to know I need to message someone about something and just see how they like to be communicated with. I can't meet with you and not talk about AI and tech. in recruitment in general, more broadly speaking. So the Mercury decision was obviously something that came from the Microsoft platform play, previous to knowing about any of their AI stuff that they're doing. You've got your finger on the pulse about these things in the RecTech market. What are your thoughts on it at the moment? Is it, like you said earlier, is it just AI baked in and you're stuck in between some walls, or is there anything that you can see that's particularly exciting on the horizon?
I think it's gradually settling down. There was a period of time, 18 months ago, where it was insane.
Yeah.
Like it's now with added AI. And I think it's the with added AI bit that I think they're the things to maybe be a bit mindful of. And anyone that's kind of jamming AI on the side is not going to be as effective as something that's built from the ground up with AI in mind. So sort of back, I suppose, in a way to my previous point around that, the true power of AI is leverage where it's pervasive through everything you've got. That said, though, small bits of AI sprinkled into products along the way are great. So things like Hirara.
Yeah.
I think that's or that type of product, they're the most obvious example of it, but that type of CV profile creation thing,
Yeah.
great use of AI.
Present,
And that doesn't need to talk to anything else, really.
No.
So that's the sort of product I think is an AI product built from the ground up to do exactly that, is a real win. I do feel like there's been this kind of rollback, I guess, on AI a bit recently. Everything seems to have calmed down, settled down, and people are now taking stock a little bit more, going, how are we actually going to use this though? How do all these things exist, and what's the best way we can leverage it? And we're still getting used to it, I think. But there's a few basic things that we can do, like treat it more like a colleague. I know that sounds a bit weird.
No, I like it.
I'll qualify that in a minute.
Yeah.
I don't mean treat it like an employee, but use it. I'm reading a book at the moment around AI and leadership, and it's not a book about AI. It's a book about how to utilize AI. So and the really interesting thing, my main takeaway at the moment, about halfway through it, is use it as I forget the exact term he uses in the book, but like a thought buddy.
Okay.
What in my head, how I've bracketed it.
Yeah.
And you know when you have a joint working session with someone and you're just bouncing ideas off each other and you're scribbling on the whiteboard and whatever else, just use AI like that. Yeah. Have it open, have your Copilot, your Gemini, or Claude, whoever you're using. Yeah. And just chuck ideas at it.
Yeah.
And say, what do you reckon to this? And see what it says. Another really good thing, and that I'm making myself start doing this year, is changing how I prompt. So instead of like a dictatorial prompt, ask the AI to interrogate you.
Okay.
So tell it how you want it to act, give it its persona.
Yeah, that's in the settings of the...
Well, or just in your prompt. So from the very beginning with the prompt is, like, I need you to act as a, I don't know, experienced systems builder.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then say, give it the problem you're trying to solve. I've got this situation. Give it what you've already tried and the outcomes, or why you haven't tried things. And then say, now I need you to ask me one question at a time. Ask me questions, interview me around it, to be able to give me 3 different approaches that I haven't yet thought of. Go. And it will ask you further information until it's got everything it needs, and then it go, here's an option, here's an option, here's an option.
Yeah, nice.
But all based off not recycling what you've already done, and it's a really efficient way of getting out of AI what you're looking for to solve problems. Yeah,
that's actually a very, very, very interesting way to look at it. I now have ChatGPT open constantly, and I have projects for everything, and I'm being better at like reusing chats and things like that. And do you voice? Do you voice?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I don't know why I don't more, to be honest, because it's not like I'm sitting at home on my own. It's not weird to talk to my computer, but I just find it quicker to type for some reason.
I can't. I sit on my own in my office, and I mean, I'm not a big fan of voice notes. receiving them or sending them. I don't send. I've sent one voice note my whole life, I think. But someone said to me the other day, actually just talking at it is a good way to get into the habit of sharing lots of thoughts with it, because actually when you type, you automatically go into formatted text because you go, this is how I need to type, the syntax, etc. Whereas if you talk normally, you can start teaching it as like a buddy. So where do you see it going then? Do you think we are, like, the question that everyone's saying is how did people are saying AI is not going to replace recruiters, but the recruiters that don't use AI will get replaced. You know, how much stock do you take in that?
If you'd asked me that a year ago, or even probably 6 months ago, I'd have said, totally agree. I'm slightly less convinced now, only because I think it's going to move to a point where people will be using it without really knowing they're using it. So there won't be any recruiters. I think if you willfully say, you become a conscientious objector or something, you're like, I'm not using anything to do with AI, then you're probably in trouble. But I think the tech is going to develop to such a point, and already is, where you don't know you're using it. It's just powering what you're doing. So for Zoom Info, we've just gone live. This is a great example. It's AI baked top to bottom. So you can go in and just search for someone and get their phone number or their email address. But sort of almost without even trying, just by searching for them, it's bringing you up a page with just loads more information on them. And it's all AI powered, all AI driven. So even if you're going, I don't use AI, you are. It's all over that page you're looking at, and that bit of information you just took into your brain is only there because of AI. So I kind of increasingly think the tech is moving to a point where you don't know you're using it half the time.
I think that's a good thing for the recruitment industry and sales industry, from an outbound, from just, there is poor usage of AI and automation that exists out there every day. We probably just need to go to our junk emails and would find good examples of it. I think the more technology vendors, software providers move to, you're using it without knowing you're using it, and you're not inputting into how you want to use it to manipulate it. I think that's better, because then the output from them isn't a shoddy campaign or poor misinformation. Actually, it's using its brain to tell you this is useful for you to then go and do something with it. And then you as the recruiter still need to have the knowledge, the expertise to know what to do with that data, right? Like,
completely.
Your best recruiters will know what to do with the Zoom Info information. Okay, I'm mindful of time. I do want to try and finish the show with giving some listeners, junior folks, or people that might be in a similar boat to you. Maybe they're recruiters now, maybe they're about to burn out, maybe they want to go and do some ops, or maybe they're in the middle of brand refresh projects. But in your experience, I was about to total up your year's experience, but in your experience, in your time in recruitment, on the tools, and as an ops person, what 1 to 3 things would you say to folks to really, really keep in mind as a big takeaway for them from today's episode?
I think number one, and I'm struggling to think of 2 and 3, but they'll probably come as I'm giving you one. Number one, never forget recruitment's a people business. Like, without people, without relationships, just recruitment doesn't work. So what does that mean for ops? Well, it's the same. You've got to keep that end user in mind. You've got to understand that their objective is to make as many relationships as possible. So whatever you're doing with tech, it can't, nor should it, ever replace that human element. It just needs to turbocharge what the human can do. Whether that's AI, automation, a brand refresh, whatever it is, all of those things need to point to giving the individuals within the business more of a platform to do what, in theory, they're very good at doing.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
I was hoping some others would have come to mind. No. I think it's quite a pervasive one, and just kind of mops it all up, really.
It does.
Never stop learning.
Yeah.
That's probably a good one. As soon as you're bored of learning, especially when your role's around tech, you're in trouble. Because it doesn't sit still, and it's only accelerating at the moment. I mean, it's always accelerating in tech, but it feels like never more so than now. So stay on top of things, stay ahead of things. Like, a part of my role officially, as decreed by the owners, is to be just get out there in the world and look at cool stuff.
And you do that really well. I mean, I see you at all the events. You're in the most folks in the supplier community will have a relationship with you, or certainly know you to say hello to you. Are you very intentional with that as a final point?
Yeah.
Or do they just invite you because of your job title on LinkedIn?
No. So up until probably a couple of years ago, I'd never been to anything ever.
Right.
Well, I'd been to conferences as a recruiter, but we were very, not intentionally, but just we were very insular here. We kind of went, oh, this because it's how we'd always done it. We just, dreamt up ideas internally and implemented them. And then I got the nudge from our now ex-CEO to just go to some events. And that's when I started going and started meeting people like you.
Yeah.
And it kind of just turbocharges your thinking about things. So you'll not necessarily always come away with something new, but your chances are, if you've not come away with something new, you've come away with validation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on the right track here. This does make that. Okay, they also all think what I'm thinking, or you get something new. And just it's that constant kind of what else can you put in? The same as when you're on a desk recruiting.
Yeah.
Keep feeding the front end, more jobs, more relationships, more. It's just the same this side of the fence.
Yeah.
But it's more around ideas and concepts than people.
The validation piece is huge. I think I enjoyed it as when I was in-house going to events, making sure that my thought process was right. Because when you're in four small walls, it's very easy.
Am I nuts?
Step out.
Is this a good idea? Is this actually a good idea?
Yeah. Well, Dom, you've been delightful.
Thank you. Yeah, likewise.
Thank you for listening, and tune in for the next episode. No idea when I'm recording that, but there is going to be a bunch of episodes releasing pretty soon.